Drop it.
While I was doing all this traveling, like a friend of mine who works at Lionsgate in Santa Monica, he told me about a position that was open. And I was like, maybe it's time. Like maybe this is time for me to at least apply and see what happens. And so I applied. Then I ended up getting the job a year and 3 months after I started at Ernst & Young. So I ended up going for it because I wanted to leave before the next busy season started, if possible. Because the next busy season was, I think, going to be even longer than my previous one, potentially 6 months, maybe. So I didn't want to do that. But yeah, I also wanted to it was not so much leaving as going for this new position. Because Lionsgate is a place I actually wanted to work at for a long time, and finally got this opportunity, so I took it, and I have not regretted it. But I also didn't regret going to EY. I don't regret any of it. I really enjoyed it, but definitely, as far as work goes, I'm happier now because it's less stressful. But it's a different career track.
So how did you transition from EY to Lionsgate? How did you manage working full-time and interviewing or potentially networking with Lionsgate people?
The interview process in this case wasn't as demanding because it wasn't like a recruiting, meet the firms kind of thing. It was really just my friend submitted my resume, which got me an interview with my would-be supervisor. And so I came in, had that interview. And
was it a work day?
Oh yeah, it was. So that part actually, it was interesting how it worked out because it was on a Friday, I believe. And I was supposed to work that day, and I was I didn't want to tell my supervisor at the time, and my current client.
That's the tricky part.
Yeah. So I was like, what do I do? Then, thankfully, I started coughing. No, I was actually getting sick.
Thankfully, I started coughing.
Yeah. That day, the day before, I started coughing and I wasn't taking it or anything. But it showed my, I guess, supervisor that I was actually potentially getting sick. And then I called in the next morning and told her that I was sick, which I actually kind of was, just a little bit. Enough to call in and not come into work, but not
enough to miss your interview.
Yeah, basically.
So it was a good sickness.
Yeah. But that's pretty rare. So in other cases, I think sometimes people just call in a sick day without actually being sick and just do that, which I guess that's an option.
Yeah.
I don't know if you have to provide an explanation in that case. Or you could, I don't know if this is recommended, but could potentially tell your senior that you're applying somewhere else. That's not really recommended.
I don't think that's a good move.
Okay, yeah, because then it creates an awkward situation with...
Yeah, what if you don't get the position and you'll be back and they'll be like, so you can't leave us, huh?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good move.
But yeah, so it turned out well in my case. And then once I actually got the offer, then I told my senior hey, I got this offer.
Was it awkward?
A little bit, but my senior was super nice. She was
Did she expect?
No, she wasn't expecting. Yeah, but she understood. And I think she was maybe my friendliest senior who I ever worked with.
That's nice.
So yeah, it was just a good situation. And there was still a lot of work for me to do, and I was supposed to stay in that client for I think 4 weeks.
Yeah.
But then I gave my 2 weeks notice, so my time was cut 2 weeks short. It was kind of a bummer for the team, but I tried to finish up as much as I could before I left. And it wasn't busy season, so it wasn't the worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could do without me. I think they managed.
Was it difficult for you to say goodbye to people at EY?
No. Well, because the nature of how you work there, because I did, at least for me, I didn't have a recurring client that I continued to work at. I would always go from client to client, so I never really settled down anywhere. And that's the case for, I think, a lot of people at EY or in Big Four in general. So, I had friends there, but it wasn't necessarily someone I was working with every day. So, even if I worked somewhere else, I still lived in the city, so I could still hang out with them. It wouldn't really change it. So it just worked out.
So 2 weeks notice, and then you start your job at Lionsgate. And how was that transition, from EY to Lionsgate?
So the transition itself was a bit tricky because there was still a lot of work that I needed to do before I left. Not just for that current client, but for an inventory count I was doing. Which
you were
was
a staff 2 at that time, right?
Yeah.
I thought inventory counts were mostly for staff 1s, or is that not the case?
I think so, but I just kind of became an inventory count person. I think because I was unassigned so much, my schedule was always
inventory
available.
count person.
Yeah, and so because I got that experience, they just took me back again and again, which was unfortunate because inventory counts are not my best thing, or at least they were one of the most stressful parts of the job for me because there are just so many things you have to take care of in that one day you're at the warehouse. And then all this documentation afterwards. So I actually ended up not finishing the documentation for one of the inventory counts I had to do before I left. I did the best I could. It's just there was...
Who finished it for you?
I don't know. I just gave it to my senior and said, hey, sorry, I couldn't finish. They said it's okay. So that's not an ideal
what
situation.
else would they do? No, you have to stay.
Yeah. But then, so that was just stressful that last couple of weeks. And at the same time, I just moved into a new apartment, like that same day or like the week before I left.
Wow.
So it was stressful.
Many things at once.
Yeah. But once I got onto Lionsgate, then it was like really good because then I was like back into like training mode and workload was a lot lighter and all of that.
Knowledge-wise, do you feel like you were more prepared because of EY than like other candidates?
Yeah, well, it was only between me and one other person for that position. I don't know how good the other person was, but I think I had more experience than they did. I think if anything, there's like two things that I learned that really helped me like in this new job. One thing would be just like in general working with people. I feel like that's an important skill, like wherever you go. Be able to, I guess, get along with others, like who have different personalities and kind of know how it is that they work. Like if they have a certain way of training you, you have to like adapt to that. If they have like certain like personality, like preferences or something like that, you just try to adapt to that to create like a more comfortable working environment. And so I did that. And the other thing was like more technical, and that was Microsoft Excel. I feel like I'm like in that all the time, like in my current job and at EY too. So just like knowing
shortcuts, VLOOKUp, HLOOKUP, all that stuff.
HLOOKUp?
Yeah. Horizontal. VLOOKUP is vertical. HLOOKUP is horizontal.
No way. I had to try that.
Yeah. It's really similar, but I heard it's like even better.
Oh.
Yeah, because some things you can't do with VLOOKUPs. But yeah, side note.
Yeah. So things like that, apparently, have to learn something new. But yeah, other than that, like, it was definitely helpful because even though I was trained, there was a lot that I kind of had to figure out on my own, so to speak, or in order to improve the processes, like our monthly and quarterly reporting.
Yeah.
Like, it helped for me to, like, be comfortable with Excel so I could play around with it and make the reports the way, like, they should be to be, like, the most clear.
Yeah.
And so that definitely helped to have that know-how. As far as accounting knowledge, it kind of helped to give context, but I feel like that wasn't as important.
So still a lot of new things when you land your job at Lionsgate.
As far as accounting?
Yeah.
Not really. Because I'm like in a very like specific area where I deal with inventory, expenses, and revenue. And it helps to know the accounting behind that to provide context. But at the end of the day, it's like just super technical, like very specific like reports that we need to send out, and understanding the flow of the reporting itself, I think, is more important than the accounting behind it. But of course, like my boss would tell me like the accounting is important too, which it is, but more like for big picture.
Yeah.
But it's more like to improve processes or to help me understand something in case something is off, that I would be able to pick it up. But as far as like the day-to-day like technical processes, the accounting is less important. Unless it's the case that it's just like so ingrained into my understanding now that I don't even think about it. But it's still like very basic stuff, at least in my case. That's not always the case.
So did you ever think that you were like overqualified for your current job?
A little bit. I think it depends on the circumstances. Like lately I've kind of felt overqualified because things have been like flowing like really smoothly to where sometimes I'm just like running out of work to do and I just have nothing to do. So I'm like, like what do I do? Maybe I can make this one report look more pretty or something like that. But if that's not always the case, like we were also implementing a new accounting procedure. And to do that, like there was a lot that we had to figure out, and my boss was kind of like leading me through that. But a lot of it was like my responsibility. So I had to figure out in some cases like what is the best way to present this? How do we fix this problem or something like that? To where I had to have like a pretty, I guess, like high level of understanding. Maybe not so much accounting, but just like being able to work in like technical things in Excel and stuff like that, and have like critical thinking, I think was super important. So in that case, like I was using everything I had and didn't feel overqualified.
How's the room for like upward movement? Because I know that for Big Four, you're pretty much guaranteed a promotion up until manager. But how about for Lionsgate or let's say any like non-public accounting position?
Yeah, so that is not as good. At Lionsgate or just any private company in general, like in terms of upward mobility. At least it's more of a challenge, and I came into that like knowing that, and that's just like the career choice that I took, where I knew if I stayed at EY, like I could continue to get promoted, but that's not something like I personally wanted for myself. So I was okay with like basically making it more difficult for me to progress in my career, because when I switched to Lionsgate, I remained as like a staff accountant, and there's no expectation for like motion from there. Where I'm hoping that like soon I'll get promoted to like, I don't know what the next step is, like senior accountant or something like that, or like every year like I'll still get like a raise and such. But when you work in private, I guess sometimes if your team is too small, the only way to move up without waiting for somebody else to leave or retire is like to find a new position. So either within the company, like in a different department, or apply somewhere else, like in a different company. That would hopefully be like a higher level, but then you have to take your career progression like your own hands, so to speak, rather than like going through the career track of EY. But I'm like okay with that, with not really like having as like a sure path for progressing my career, because at the moment I'm not as career oriented. And I think that's like part of the reason why I left EY. It's like EY is like not for everyone, but like for many people, it's a great place for people who like want to like rise through the ranks and get like a really nice career in accounting, either become a partner or like a CFO or something like that. And I'm okay not being those things.
And I mean, it is different for everyone. Not everyone wants to put job as their first priority. Would you say there's any last advice that you would like to give to like young people or like people who are still in school?
I think the first one would be, this is pretty, like a lot of people say this, but like find your priorities as far as where you're going to go, like what you invest your time in. Like if you're not in a job yet, like you don't have to know exactly what you want to do yet, but like have an idea of what you want to get into, and see like you have to research and find out like what steps do I need to take to get to this place, and then invest your time now to get to that point. So whether that's like making connections or like going to an internship or just doing other things like extracurricular activities, so you gain that experience and you will be able to use that to just learn more, but also like share that when you are applying for jobs and such. But not be so worried about like focusing in like on one specific goal for yourself. Yeah, because it's always going to change. But just because like you might have like different options doesn't mean you should like be like super lax about them. Like you still want to give it your all in pursuing something. You just have to find out what that is.
Thank you so much, Mark, for joining us and sharing with us about his Big Four experience and also his transition into private accounting. And if you have any questions, please tell us in the comment section and we'll try our best to answer them. And do you want people to reach you at Instagram or LinkedIn?
I do not really use Instagram. Oh, LinkedIn? Yeah, I have a LinkedIn.
Okay.
So like, it's just my name, right?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Then I can just put it right here and you guys can visit his LinkedIn.
Yes.
So until next time, thank you so much for watching. Bye.
Thank you.